As we're going through creating a responsive design for our pages, I'm going to take a look at actually designing those pages. So here I have a page layout for desktop, and we can see I have a full width heading here, an image, caption, text, and I have 3 columns for those. An area for the main content, maybe some sidebar stuff. And then once we get down to a tablet view at whatever number of pixels we need for that, then this layout is changing a little bit, where now this has 2 columns and then that third one drops down to its own row. And then we still have our main content and these sidebars. And then for a mobile view, we want this to just kind of stack all on top of each other. And we're even getting rid of one of those sidebars when we're all the way down in the mobile view. But first, I want to take a look at here creating this column layout in our desktop view. And then we can look at how we can take that same layout and create this tablet and then mobile view. So here I have a blank style sheet, and I'm going to pull this back up and put it over here so we have that as a guide. And for this, I've already got my file structure set up. I have my index.html. My CSS file is in the CSS folder. And I have some images here in my images folder. And that's what we're going to be working with here and here. So now I'm going to look at kind of creating this layout. So now I'm going to start off with this div with a class of container, because I like having that to work with. So I almost always will be using a div with the class of container and then putting more content inside of that. So that container is going to be everything in this table here that we're looking at for this desktop view. And now inside of here, I can see I need a heading of some sort. So I'm going to put a header in here and then give that an H1 heading. And for what we're going to be doing, or in this file, it's going to be Super Mario characters. So I'm going to go and put that in as that heading. And then below this, I know I want, some different rows. So I need to think about how I want to do that. So I'm going to create a div that is going to contain the content for these rows. So that I can identify this later, I'm going to give this a class equals row. That way I know that this is going to be a single row, like here. And these are actually going to be in each column for these rows. So then what I need to do, I can use a section element. And that's because this content kind of goes together. So since it's related content, I want to put it inside of a section. That's what that element is used for, the semantic element. So now, because I'm going to use this as a column, and I may have sections somewhere else later that I'm not using as columns, I want to give this a class equals column, and then col-1 so that I can identify this as column 1. Actually, I'm going to give it a class of column and then give it an ID of column 1, or col-1. And because I know I need 3 columns here, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. And this is going to have an ID of column 2 and then column 3. Yeah, I think that works for what we're doing. We may have to come back and change some things around. But now I'm going to add in these blocks. So img src equals images slash, and for this one it's going to be mario.png. Alt equals Mario. And then I want a caption under this. So I'm going to give this an h3 tag, or an h2 tag. And Mario. And then below that I'm going to have some text to put in here. So I'm just going to put that in, or include this paragraph tag. And then I have some text already done up that I'm going to copy and put in here. You can put whatever. If you're following along, it's not going to matter a whole lot. So now I'm going to copy this inner portion, and then we're just going to change the things that need to be changed. So here, this is going to be luigi.png, then Luigi, and Luigi Mario. And then down here we have Peach, Princess Peach, and Princess Peach. Yep. So now I'm going to go ahead and save this, and we can pull this up in the browser. And we can see, well, so far, yeah, we do have this heading, we have these images, the captions. If we put some text in here, just some random letters, and save it, yeah, we can see that is making it onto the page. But now we need to look at how to make these things into columns. But I want to go ahead and add the rest of the content, so as we're making changes to the CSS, we can see how that's going to affect it, and also go ahead and build out the rest of the page here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my content. So for Mario, we got a little bit of text here. And for Luigi, we have a little bit of text. You can use lorem ipsum or some other random text. It really doesn't matter. I just already have this text done up, so I'm copying and pasting it so that we can use that. Now when we save this, again, we can see we do have that text there. And we're going to go ahead and add in more content. So here below this section, or no, below this row, we're going to create another row because I only needed 3 columns in that row that we were working in. And then give that class equals row again. And inside of here, we're going to go ahead and create some more columns and do some things with that. So section, class equals col, ID equals main content. Because remember, we wanted our main content after these images, and then we need a couple of things for the sidebar here. So now this is going to be the main content. Again, I already have some content done up for this, so I'm going to copy and paste that in here. And what I have here in this row, I have a section that we just created, and then I have an H3 heading and a few paragraphs with some text in it. Now after this section, we need to do something for a sidebar. So what we can do here is use the aside element, because it makes sense for that here, because it's some additional content that the page can live without. So I want to use an aside element inside of this row. And then class equals we'll come back to that and see what we need to give that as we're moving through and adding new things. Now here I'm going to put a section inside of here. And the class equals sidebar 1. And then we'll use another one for sidebar 2, so that we can work with these. I could just as easily give that an ID. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll do this differently. ID equals sidebar 1 and ID equals sidebar 2. Class equals sidebar part, and then we'll copy that class, because we're going to put that same class on both of these because they're both parts of the sidebar. And since I have that as sidebar part, class equals sidebar on this aside. And now, like before, I have a little bit of content for these. So I'm going to paste that in here. And inside of there, I just have an H4, a couple of paragraphs. This next one is the same way. I have an H4 element and a couple of paragraphs, or a paragraph. That way, we have that content in there. And then we need to look at, looking at all of this, I have a heading, I have these images, captions, text, sidebar, main content. So when I save this, refresh my page, we can see all of this content's there, but we're not really getting the look that we want. So now in the styles.css, I want to throw in some styles, and then we'll look at, in the next video, how we can update these styles and get that columned layout.